Hello and welcome to Battlefield 1 News. So in this news episode there's the release of some details of the They Shall Not Pass DLC, but first we've got a bit of news from Nvidia. If you're running dual graphics cards in SLI configuration, then download the latest Nvidia drivers because there's a new SLI profile for Battlefield 1 and there's also a fix for a texture flickering issue. So if you're running SLI, definitely download those new drivers. The rest of the news in this episode is going to cover They Shall Not Pass because DICE have released some more information on it. And the first thing that we knew already is the French army is joining the fight. Now one thing we don't have any news on is what weapons the French army are going to be using because none of the infantry weapons or infantry gadgets have been hinted at or told. So that we're going to have to wait and see, but we do know it's the French army. We also know that we're going to be getting 4 maps in this DLC, the first of which is Verdun Heights. The opening barrage of the Battle of Verdun created massive forest fires in which players will fight for domination. This is an uphill battle towards the massive fortress of Verdun, a constant grinding struggle where the artillery never stops, where the Forge and the Devils Anvil continue to consume even the bravest combatants. In the real fighting of this battle, the Germans fired 2.5 million artillery shells in 5 days at the French, and that's how this place got the name the Devils Anvil. The next map we see is Fort Vaux. The first big engagement inside a fort during World War I takes place in the dark underworld of Fort Vaux. Down in a maze of dark galleries and wet stone corridors, French and Germans fight ferociously with grenades, guns, bayonets and flamethrowers. Watch your corners. Like I said in a previous video, Fort Vaux took a severe pounding during the German offensive, and the French basically went underground to hold them off for as long as they could. They withstood the barrage and the tanks and the flamethrowers for 7 days before they ran out of water and had to surrender. So this is going to be a pretty grim place to fight, and if there is going to be a Battlefield 1 version of Lockers and Metro, this is going to be it. Now one thing that does seem likely from the description of Verdun Heights and Fort Vaux is that they link together, and if they link together then they're most likely also going to be an operation. Our third map is Soissons, and this says take part in one of the biggest tank battle assaults of World War I. The French 10th Army moves to take back Soissons using their powerful Saint-Chamond tanks. Planes, tanks and infantry clash in the beautiful French countryside in the early hours of a hot summer day. Only the thunderstorm is louder than the war. So on this map we're going to see the new assault tank gun. This is the Saint-Chamond. It's described as the most heavily armoured Allied tank of the war, dominate the battlefield with this impressive French construction. Unfortunately this tank was a disaster in World War I and the French replaced it with land ships as soon as they could. Basically its tracks were tiny and it got stuck all the time. But you'll have to see how it plays out in the game. This was a tank from 1916, so at least it's historically accurate. And it also sounds like we can expect some pretty severe weather effects on this map, going from early morning sunshine to a ferocious storm. I'm a bit undecided as to whether I like the extreme weather effects that Battlefield 1 has, but we'll have to wait and see what these ones are like. And the final map of the 4 is Rupture, and this is described as in dire need to capture key bridges across the Aisne River. The French find themselves back into battlefields where poppies grow over rusty wrecks from previous tank battles. It might seem calm, but this maze of steel beasts provides an excellent place for those who plan an ambush. As the sun sets over Fontenoy, the battle wakes up. So those are the 4 new maps, and it doesn't really seem like we have anything described as a trench map, which is a bit surprising for the Battle of Verdun. But we don't know really what's in the maps yet, so we'll just have to wait and see. Also in this DLC is a new game mode called Frontlines, and this sounds pretty similar to something out of Star Wars Battlefront. Experience a mix of conquest and rush as you fight for chained control points in a tug of war front line. Both teams fight for one flag at a time, and when this objective is captured the action moves on to the next. Capture the enemy's HQ control point and the game turns into a rush style section where telegraph posts need to be attacked or defended. Now, like I say, this sounds quite a lot like the Star Wars Battlefront mode that was called Turning Point, which came out in the Battle for Jakku DLC, where you had 3 flags that the Empire was defending, and then you got the Empire HQ, which you'd have to defend after they took the flags. But the description of this mode is quite vague, so it could be completely different. What we do know is that there's a new behemoth, and it's a drivable behemoth, and it's the Char 2C. Now, this is a bit confusing because the image of the tank they've given here is not the same as the image they gave in the little teaser. The image in the little teaser definitely was a Char 2C, whereas this one definitely looks like the FCM-1A, so I don't know what they're doing with this tank and which image is actually going to be real, but this is the new behemoth. It says spawn into the Char 2C tank, control an epic new behemoth. Based on a real-world French tank, this super heavy beast may turn the tide to the entire battle. Now, yes, it is based on a real-world French tank, just not one from World War I. To go with the new behemoth, we have a new elite class, and this is the Trench Raider. So it was an elite class that we saw in that teaser, and the description of this class is: use the melee skills of the new elite class, the Trench Raider. With the brutal Raider Club and impressive grenade arsenal, you will be a terrifying sight. So this is a close range melee combat elite class. The existing melee classes in the game now get dealt with pretty quickly because everybody knows how to deal with them. So it's going to be interesting to see how a melee elite class is going to survive. Because if this picture's right, he's going to be going into trenches without a gas mask. And the final reveal is a new stationary weapon. Similar to a field gun, the Siege Howitzer can be operated by an infantry player. This new stationary weapon, operated through indirect aiming and firing, is in the same vein as mortars and artillery in vehicles. Because that's exactly what we've all asked for in this game. We need more indirect fire weapons that just kill us out of the sky for no reason. Not only do we have an elite class that's going to be spamming grenades all over the place, we have a new stationary weapon that anybody can use like a mortar. Right, so that's all the information we have. There's no fixed date yet as to when this DLC is coming out, it just says March 2017. And of course, if you've got premium, it'll come out 2 weeks earlier than if you don't. And to be honest, it's about time we got a DLC for Battlefield 1. It's been an awful long time since launch. When we had Battlefield 4, we got a DLC before Christmas, and they were launched about the same time. Battlefield 1 we're having to wait until March. I really can't wait to get some new maps and some new weapons and just some new things to play in the game, because it is starting to feel a bit stale. Anyway, hopefully we'll get news on those weapons soon, but until then, thanks for watching,